VMware, the Apple Vision Pro, and the latest on TikTok.
It's news to me. Welcome to It's News to Me, where the it is IT and the me is whoever it needs to be. I'm Noah Parker.
I'm Michael Trotter-Lawson.
And I'm Tyler Rasnick.
Good day.
Is it?
And welcome to our podcast.
It's always a good day when you're listening to It's News to Me.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Noah. Get on brand.
That was on brand. Me questioning everything.
Oh, dear.
That's why the podcast is called It's News to Me, and I'm the one that says that.
All right. So, hypothetical question this week. I've been on a major comics kick, especially Marvel lately. But the question I have for you all is, we've got two major kind of comic book universes.
3 if you count the funny pages.
Does Roger Rabbit count? There was a comic book after the movie.
There's a lot of comic books that are, tied to
there's a lot of
different IPs and whatnots.
Yeah.
But I'm talking just Marvel and DC.
Oh, not Coke versus Pepsi. My 2 favorite comic universes.
Comic universes?
Yeah.
I'm going to step away from that. My question is, being, basically the same person you are now, living in roughly the same area, would you rather be in the Marvel universe or the DC universe, just as a normal person?
Oh, man, they both kind of suck.
They can.
As a normal person.
They can kind of suck in a lot of different ways.
If you don't have superpowers,
straight out the gate, just surface level opinion, Marvel, because DC is just notoriously darker.
But I think that a lot of that has to do with the movies. Like that's a movie perception thing.
Yeah, but I feel like DC just has a lot more vast otherworldly threats that are more common than a lot of Marvel stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I also feel like with DC, I think there are more kind of high-powered heroes to stand up to those kind of threats. Like, yeah, you've got like Darkseid, but you also have Superman in
but
DC.
I'm just saying, like, if I had a much safer vehicle, it doesn't mean I would want to be in more car crashes.
That's fair.
I mean, if I could choose a fender bender versus like a roll my car over 6 times, I'm going to choose the fender bender, even if it's in a less safe car.
I mean, I guess a lot of the Marvel crises, is that how you say it?
I think that's the word, crises.
Yeah, crises. They're like, they're out of sight, out of mind for most of the normal people.
Well, until half the world got snapped away.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if I don't know about it and then all of a sudden I'm gone for 5 years,
Plus, the New York City in Marvel, you have friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I guess Gotham is the closest thing to New York.
It's more like Chicago, isn't it?
What, Gotham?
No, Gotham is New York.
It's supposed to be. I mean, Gotham's...
I thought Metropolis was New York.
They're like sister cities in DC. It's weird.
But Gotham, like, you get your head beat in by a guy with a mask. Just, even if you just pirate a movie or something. He's going to bust down your door and he's going to get revenge on his parents, But at least in Marvel, you've got a sort of a smart-ass, cool guy, defending you and saving the day.
But I mean, also in both cases, though, like, the 3 of us wouldn't be in New York or Gotham.
That's true.
Not unless we chose to go there,
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be boring either way. We wouldn't really... None of the action would affect us at all.
Likely. I mean, that's... To Noah's point, it would be like the global kind of cosmic threats that would be...
the economy. The economy would be... Can you imagine the economy after Darkseid?
Oh, gosh.
Man. I don't know. It feels almost like the and maybe this is just kind of a perception type thing, but I feel like with a lot of the DC stuff, it ends up being things where like the world very nearly gets destroyed, but hardly anyone even realizes it because like they never know how close it got. You know?
I guess that's reality too. There's been a few times in real life where,
yeah, like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
which
I
we
hear
know
about
now
that all the time, but
we know about it now. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
think
like,
I'm sticking with Marvel though.
yeah, I think I'd rather live. Also, like mutants are cool. It'd be cool to like know because there's a lot of mutants. There's
Yeah.
more mutants than really.
yeah, but that's also another thing is that like there are more, especially with the mutant situation. You know, mutants are, they're uncommon, but they're all over the place.
Yeah,
They'd be all over the country. But I mean, that also means that you're more likely to deal with, there's good mutants and bad mutants, and
I'd make friends with all the mutants.
there's brother. Well, yeah, but what happens if like a mutant you don't know suddenly like joins the Brotherhood of Evil, and he's just like,
Well, I got plenty of mutants that I do know that like me, and I'm like, I got this guy's back.
uh,
Also, if that cool, just think about if, like you could have one that could like snap stuff, like Coke or zero sugar Oreo, like snap it into existence. That'd be cool.
I think there's a good chance that like mutants in this area would not be looked upon kindly.
No. Everybody's like, these guys are cool, especially if they played basketball at like Gate City or something.
No,
I
isn't
don't
it
know.
called-
There'd
they
be a
call that
whole
cheating?
thing. Yeah, no, there would be a whole thing. They'd be trying to say that mutants. You don't want mutants in your schools. Can't have mutants in your kids' locker rooms.
Your kid's gonna
be-
come home and be a mutant.
That'd be
Yeah.
sick. I would love that. If I had a kid and they showed
Yeah.
up and they're like, I can turn into a fish now.
I
I'm like,
think
whoa.
You would love that. I would
think
love that.
you
Like I
would
think
be-
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
but a lot
the
of
problem
people.
is, I think we would be in the minority here.
Yeah.
Nah.
I don't know. I think in a lot of ways the DC universe would just be. I think it'd be simpler most of the time. Just like heroes would like just deal with cosmic threats out of sight, out of mind, and as long as you stay away from like, the hot spots, like you don't go to Gotham or Metropolis and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you never really hear about like a worldly crisis happening in Tennessee in the comics.
Yeah.
We'd probably be
Someone
fine.
should do that.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool.
Yeah. I'm sure I don't know. There's so many comics. There's probably at least one like Tennessee-based hero. You
Yeah,
know?
the Scarecrow Man or like the Barnstormer guy.
There's got to be like some.
They could have a
obscure
villain-
like country music theme.
The Moonshiner?
hero that hangs out in like
I was
Nashville.
thinking they could have a villain that attacks Tennessee called the Big Orange.
No, it'd be the Crimson Tide that would attack Tennessee.
yeah, you're right.
Crimson Chin.
Yeah.
Mm.
Here comes the Crimson Chin.
What
Man.
about like Dark Horse comics?
I don't know enough about Dark Horse comics.
Isn't that like
to-
Spawn and stuff like that?
I think, but Spawn's now owned by DC, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's true.
I don't know. Also, I don't do does. DC is weird because the cities don't line up. Like I don't think there is a New York in
Yeah.
the DC universe. You have like
Oh, you were right, by the way. Gotham and Metropolis are both based off of New York to some extent, but there's been some deliberation that Metropolis is also Cleveland, Ohio.
really
Is the river on fire?
I think that's what it said. It was Cleveland.
man.
I'll
okay.
fact check that real quick.
Live
I
fact
mean,
checking.
It's kind of like there's a United States clearly. Like the countries
Yeah.
are still there, but like
Oh,
I don't
here's the city. Gotham is just New York at night.
That's true. It is always at night.
yeah, God, it's always dark. So I wonder if there would be if like Nashville would still exist, or like heck, even like Bristol. Like, is it like roughly the same United States, just like slightly different cities?
It was
I don't
probably
know.
State of Franklin would probably be what this area would be called. Some weird alternate universe.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I think I'd try the DC. Like, if I'm knowing what I know now, and like I'm willingly making this move, I might do it just to see,
Yeah,
just to see,
see what's
how,
different.
how it would be different, you know? Because like obviously you don't really, you know, like we talked about, they don't really touch on like the rural parts of the United States. Well, except for Kansas.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah, I guess
food for thought.
that's some research for next podcast. Like, if we can figure out if DC refers to
'Cause
any other
also-
cities, and
Well,
if-
because also DC does exist, or at least you know the capital of the United States exists in DC.
yeah,
But
yeah, because wait, when Zod came, he just came to Metropolis, right? Or
Right.
he didn't go to the capital.
I don't think so. No, I don't know. Granted, you know, my kind of the last exposure I had to DC was reading through the you know the Red Sun
Yeah,
series, and in there, you know, like Moscow exists, DC exists, the city Washington DC exists, but you know, obviously that's an Elseworlds storyline, so I don't know if that exists in the mainline DC.
I found a map
Universe.
of all of the cities in DC. So apparently Portland exists as it is.
Portland, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Portland.
Detroit exists. It's in the Green Lantern, apparently. Metropolis apparently is in Delaware.
Delaware.
That's what it says according to this map. Washington, D.C. exists because it's in...
I think
one of the-
so when you
Metropolis
say it's
is
When you say it's in Green Lantern, you mean like the comic storylines, or like?
Yeah, it actually tells you. It tells you which...
Issues.
It's Green Lantern 4.
Oh,
is-
okay.
Yeah.
I think Metropolis, based on what limited research I've done in the past 5 minutes, is just wherever it needs to be. Kind of like this podcast.
Well, that's kind of that. I remember in like Batman v Superman, they show
It's like across the water.
it's like literally across the water. But I don't.
Take a little paddle boat ride over to Metropolis.
Yeah, Gotham City is... So apparently New York exists in DC.
What?
So according to this...
DC needs to canonicalize all their cities.
I don't know what JSA or Firestorm is,
Justice
but New York
Society of
exists.
America.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
So that exists in Brooklyn, New York exists, but apparently Gotham is in New Jersey, like right.
You know that
It's-
makes sense.
Everything's legal in New Jersey.
There's some Louisiana, St. Roch and Huma, which is Hawkman and Hawkgirl, El Paso, Phoenix, Las Vegas. So it looks like really all the other cities are legit. San
What-
Francisco. There's
where's-
something called Coast City, California, which I don't know that's true. or
Where's
real.
the Flash's city? Like, isn't that like Keystone? Something
Yeah,
like?
Keystone is Kansas.
Kansas.
Yeah, Keystone City, Kansas.
Huh.
Flash 1 and 3. And then there's Central City, Missouri, which is Flash 2.
Central City is probably what. I mean, that's where a lot of the Flash stuff is now.
Yeah.
I guess it's like St. Louis or something, or Kansas City. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of mixture of made up stuff. I don't know why they did that because Marvel
Yeah, it's
didn't do it at
weird.
all. They were just like,
I
I mean,
feel
there's a
like-
few made up places in Marvel.
I
but-
feel like it was one of those things with like, you know, DC started out obviously with Superman, and I'm sure they probably came up with, you know, like Metropolis, just as like, you know, the arbitrary city where Superman lives
yeah,
as like this fictional thing. But then like as DC began to grow and like, you know, acquire more comics and more comic book companies and whatnot, and they decided to throw this whole world together, they were probably just stuck with.
I guess it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto. Each of those iterations of the games, the cities you play in are like a parody or like a take on a city.
Sure.
But if you play those games, they reference real life cities too. Like they reference like real states and real, you know, Washington D.C.'s referenced in a lot of the radio stations, things like that. I guess it's similar. I feel like Gotham and Metropolis, though, if you're gonna do it, those are like two of the most well known, best known, you know, recreations of like a fake city.
Yeah.
I mean, Gotham's like iconic, and so is Metropolis. So that's cool.
So anyway, circle back. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going with DC.
Really?
Yeah.
I just don't get your reasoning.
Honestly, I think it comes down to Like when I think of like forces for good in each of these universes, you've got like the Avengers and the Justice League. And I think the Justice League is just like by Superman alone is like an infinitely more powerful team.
true.
And it's just because of the way that DC has created these characters.
I feel like you're comparing apples to oranges here, because the Justice League is a lot stronger than the Avengers, but their threats are also a lot more powerful than the Avengers' threats.
I don't know if that's true. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of
Galactus alone is like,
he
could eat the planet.
He hasn't.
But he could, and you never know.
Yeah, but
maybe Michael's won me. I think on two points. Superman,
yeah,
and then also it would be kind of cool to go to Metropolis. Metropolis is kind of like a utopia.
Superman, as powerful as he is, he still messes up and makes mistakes, and people still die.
Of course.
Well, yeah, occasionally, but like, I don't know. Like, there's just
a lot more organized crime in DC as well.
Well, you got like the Kingpin in Marvel.
Yeah.
Kingpin, the Hand. Like, there's like dozens of fictional like crime organizations in New York and Marvel.
I'm still sticking with Marvel.
I like Marvel more, but I feel like if I'm going to live somewhere, may as well have. I want someone to protect me. Superman's he's pretty much unbeatable.
Yeah, Superman's just like busted
he's not. Superman's died
so.
like 8,000 times.
I think he's died like a couple of times, and he always comes back. So,
Well, yeah, because he's the moneymaker. It's weird. I feel like I'm the opposite of you, Tyler. Like, I prefer the DC characters, but I would rather live in the Marvel universe.
Because, like, I do think in Marvel, there's also a lot more. They have a little bit. I shouldn't say a lot more. I think there is more focus on kind of some intergalactic things as well.
Yeah.
Whereas everything in DC is very Earth-based.
Very terrestrial.
Because, like, you think of, like, Captain Marvel is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. But she spends, like, a lot of her time dealing with, like, galactic conflicts away from Earth.
You think she could beat Superman?
No.
No, it wouldn't even be close.
No one can beat Superman.
It's just a question.
That's kind of the thing. That's kind of his thing.
You can't say no one can beat Superman. I've seen people beat Superman. You're both wrong.
Yeah, but he never stays down, does he?
I mean, I guess if Captain Marvel like covered herself in like some kind of like kryptonite suit.
I'm just saying, all it takes is for someone to not yeet Superman back into the sun, and he's gonna stay dead. Because that's usually what happens. They just throw him into the sun, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm Superman again."
It's like, this feels good. It's like waking up and taking a hot shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stand by what I said.
I think I do too, but I have a counter to this. It's not comic book related, and you guys aren't going to understand. This is a bad podcast segment, but I'm about to do it anyway.
Welcome to Tyler's bad podcast segment.
Feel free to cut it out if you want, but I want to live in the Dragon Ball Z universe because similar to Superman, I would have Goku and friends, but Goku is pretty much unbeatable in the Dragon Ball universe.
If we can just pick any universe, I'm pretty sure we've done this before as a hypothetical.
We have.
Yeah, I think we have. Yeah.
I'd still live in the Wallace and Gromit universe, where my biggest problem is pests.
Yeah, but we have to pick a universe where you like there's a galactic threat.
The Were-Rabbit. Galactic threat confirmed.
What if Goku was in the Wallace and Gromit universe? He's fighting the Were-Rabbit.
Or Feathers McGraw.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I think it's DC for me now. Because I think it would be cool, one, knowing that Superman's around, I'd sleep better at night.
You guys are putting too much faith in Superman.
He's
busted.
busted.
My dad's probably going to, like, literally find me and beat me up after he listens to this for me hate talking Superman, but I think he's overrated.
Like, I understand that, like,
but
I understand that, yes, Superman has died before, they create conflict in Superman comics, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, this happens in Marvel as well all the time.
I'm just saying
I'm
paper, he's
Yeah.
the best on paper, which is where I'll be living. On paper.
There's 15 times that Superman actually died.
What, is this like a Screen Crush list or something like
CBR.
Watchmojo.com.
that? Watch mode.
I'm just saying, he's died.
It's
That's
just
fine.
like,
I've got the Green Lantern to back me up when he dies.
bring down Superman all you want. That you can't make any argument about Superman that isn't like way more true of like any Marvel hero.
Well, that's not what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying that. Listen, the question here isn't who would win in a fight, Marvel versus DC. That's not the question. I'm just saying, you guys are basing your whole... No, let me finish. You're basing your whole reasoning of choosing DC based on what you've said out loud, that you have Superman as there to protect you.
Well,
that's
but
not
it's
a good enough
also-
reason.
It is also not just Superman, because like, you know, he's probably like 80% of the Justice League, you know, just like if you look at like power levels, he's probably like 80% of that just because of how absurd he is.
I think
I still
Batman's
think-
above Superman in terms of power levels.
Okay. I still think the other 20% could probably beat the Avengers. Like Green Lantern, Wonder Woman.
I don't know about Wonder Woman. I might draw the line at Wonder Woman.
Well, not like individually, but like,
Oh,
I mean, like
okay.
with, you take out Superman, I think who's left could still beat like
One-on-one.
the core Avengers that we see in like Avengers.
I think Thor could like wipe
film.
the floor with Wonder Woman. But that's just me.
I don't know.
He probably wouldn't hit a lady.
I
though.
feel like they're probably very similarly,
yeah.
as far as like power levels go, I feel like they're probably on very similar levels.
What about Hulk? Hulk could wipe the floor with Wonder Woman.
Well, he'd wipe the floor with her, but she'd probably get back up.
Floor would
Maybe.
be shiny, though.
But no, the point that we're making isn't that someone could beat the other. It's that picking one of these universes comes with an inherent risk level that you have to accept either way. And if you're accepting the risk level, at least you're mitigating it more so by choosing the DC universe where you have these higher powered superheroes to protect you against threats that aren't, to be honest, maybe now that I think about it, probably not as big as even the Marvel threats. Some of the Marvel threats seem kind of...
See, I think you're wrong.
Okay.
That's...
Well, I mean, look, this wouldn't be nearly as entertaining if we just all agreed.
So this is real. This is very serious.
Yeah, we have to make this decision by the end of the day because
If
we're
Noah
going.
doesn't agree with me before we end this recording, then we're not friends anymore.
I
Well, we
guess
won't
we're not
see him
friends anymore.
We'll just be.
We'll
Oh,
be in
that's
different
true.
universes.
That's true. Me and Michael will just be hanging out in Metropolis, eating hot dogs while Superman beats ass in the sky.
I'm gonna be making my own podcast. It's just gonna be called "It's Me."
This episode of It's News to Me is brought to you by Burk IT.
What's Burk IT?
Burk IT is an IT managed services provider that wants to build mutually beneficial partnerships with our clients.
Wow.
Unlike the one-sided relationships that you get from your previous IT provider.
Exactly. Unlike many of our competitors, Burk isn't looking for customers to bill when things go wrong. We have built our company so that we succeed when our clients succeed.
You know, that's a pretty good business model if you ask me.
I think so. For businesses in East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, or the surrounding area, we provide security-centric IT solutions with our highly qualified team of engineers.
Just not Germany.
Right. Correct. Building trusting relationships while providing practical, secure IT results. That's the Burk IT way. Okay. Well, let's get into what this podcast is theoretically about. The whole technology news thing. Let's I want to kick things off with probably the most business technology relevant thing, and that was your story, Tyler. I think I should also preface this with we're trying something a little bit different here, where we each chose a story ahead of time, whereas normally I end up just
telling
picking
us
all of them.
what we're gonna be talking about.
Yeah, we'll be like sitting here ready to record, and then when Michael does the intro, that's when I know what the topics are.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes if I don't pay attention to teams, that's the same. So, yeah, my story is it's basically just about some research that suggests that over half of VMware customers are already looking to move to a different platform, or at least investigating potential secondary options after Broadcom acquired VMware. This article in the registers from last week, but you have to take some of this with a grain of salt because the research was published by Civo, and they're a startup company. Well, not a startup, but they're a cloud-hosted provider that is looking to gain customers or business off of the VMware purge or migration. So basically, they're stating at their Civo festival, their like conference that they do, that over half of the attendees that use VMware are looking to switch for one reason or another. Mostly it comes down to price, which we've seen that here with us, with these renewals, the way that Broadcom is handling these VMware renewals, they're yearly subscriptions based on processor count. And some of them are 700% increases over what pre-Broadcom pricing were.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, their whole plan here, we've talked about it before, but their whole plan is basically that they don't care if the small to medium customers leave, that they know they still have a few whales that need this. There's no alternative. They're going to have to pay it. And they don't care if that entity or company or whatever, they have to absorb that cost and pass it on to the consumer. They don't really care. They just know that they're going to do it. And even if they only do it for the next 8 to 10 years, they could potentially, I guess, break even or make some money or investment on their investment for acquiring VMware. But I think the writing's on the wall that most cloud-hosted providers are looking at other alternatives, whether that be AWS, Linux. I know Hyper-V is an option. Proxmox is open source. But yeah, basically that's the gist of this article, is that there's an overwhelming amount of data that now suggests that this has affected over half of the VMware customer base.
So are there just not any decent alternatives for the bigger companies that utilize VMware?
There are alternatives. I just think that most of the bigger companies, it's such an undertaking at this point because they're fully in on the VMware infrastructure.
Yeah.
It would be a massive project that would probably cost them more money than it would just to continue to pay the fees.
Gotcha.
So eventually, they may, depending on, I guess, what their budgets, they may decide to do that. But it's the small to medium sized customer that really suffers. But they're the ones that, are more flexible because they may only have, a few VMs. They may only have a few hosts. There's more. There just isn't a great alternative. Hyper-V is really probably the most mature product in all of the ones mentioned there. And Microsoft really hasn't done any updating or innovation to that product in 10 years, although they will be soon. I think there's a version of Hyper-V that's standalone that's not included in the OS that's coming out soon. So we'll just have to stay tuned and see, where this goes. But right now, the, I guess, most user-friendly, easiest to use is Proxmox, but it's open source. So most large enterprise companies, they're not going to go for something open source. That's the main security question surrounding Proxmox is what's really holding it back. But it's very similar. A lot of the functionality is very similar to VMware. It's just it doesn't have a real team behind it. It's open source.
Why don't they just close the source?
Yeah, that honestly, that you joke, but that may end up be what happens because there was free PBX, open PBX in the past was like an open sourced voice over IP system. There's companies that basically take that open source, they tweak some things, add some security code in there, they maintain it closed source. Digium is one of those, if you've ever heard of them. So at some point there will be a fork of
I mean,
Proxmox.
is there anything stopping someone, since it's like an open source thing, stopping some other company from taking that, making their own thing, and then just
I don't believe so.
locking it down and going to town, as they
I mean,
say?
I guess it's engineering resources and capital are the two things stopping you. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, somebody could.
Well, I mean, they'd also just have to, naturally, they'd have to do something, profound enough to where, like, no one else could just do what they just did,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, obviously, if you take an open source software and you just, like, change the name of it and just try and sell it, that's just... Is that fraud? That feels like fraud, but
But I mean,
Yeah.
like,
might not legally be, but...
it'd be taking the open source software, adding the necessary security measures, and actually like changing it enough to where you can lock it down, and you wouldn't be like just slapping your name on it and selling it.
Well, it's like, I mean, you're aware of the slicers.
Yeah.
And there's, open source slicers.
Talking
Prusa
about
slicer.
3D printing software.
Yeah. There's Prusa slicer, Orca slicer, and then the Bamboo Lab slicer. Obviously, those are all free. But
Yeah.
like what Bamboo Labs did from the Orca slicers would be no different than what someone could do to Proxmox. If
Yeah.
they wanted to put their own stamp on it, maybe some additional functionality. And then, like you said, the main thing is security, making sure that security is looked after and that CVEs are taken care of as they come out. And, the Proxmox team does that, but it's open source. So it's just as people have time. There's no
Yeah.
real financial motivation for them to do that, immediately.
Gotcha.
And where it's open source, it's kind of on you. If you run it in your environment, you're taking on that risk. So yeah, that's the main thing right now is just there really isn't a alternative. And we find ourselves in that situation with our clients where renewals are coming up for some people and we get the pricing back and it's, 7 times, 3 to 7 times what it was last year. And it sucks. So
Gosh, it I don't know. And I guess there just doesn't seem like there's much kind of hope for VMware reversing course on any of this stuff,
No,
right?
I
Because
think
like
this
they
is
don't have any good reason to, right?
yeah, I think this is going according to plan for them. I don't think they're not scared off by this at all. I think
I guess
this
more
is-
so for Broadcom. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe 5 years from now they get what they can and they sell off VMware to someone else and they turn it around. But by then, a lot of this
yeah.
on-premise stuff is going to cloud computing. So a lot of the reasons why people would even want VMware probably won't exist in the next 5 to 10 years. So
I mean, basically, just about everything I've heard about the whole VMware situation just makes it seem like, it's just it's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved, except for Broadcom themselves.
yeah,
Because, like,
yeah,
really, they've got kind of a captive market here, it seems like.
yeah. It's kind of like private equity firms, which Broadcom's not a private equity firm, but it reminds me a lot of what you see with like private equity, and they try to cannibalize a brand or a name.
Like what happened to Red Lobster.
Yeah, absolutely. Reminds me a lot of what's happening with that. They try to basically suck it for all it's worth and then toss it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You guys know the Apple Vision Pro headset that everyone loves and adores?
I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only heard of it.
Yeah, I've never seen one. But yeah.
Big popular in air quotes.
Yeah.
Apparently, there were some hacking tricks and tips to these people got hold of the. So, like, okay, let me back up. When you do things in the virtual space in this, you have a virtual avatar. And in this virtual avatar, the eyes move with your eyes because, it's immersive and whatnot. Apparently, some hackers, they didn't get into the headsets themselves, but they were able to get hold of the eye tracking data and discern what people's passwords were by tracking the eyes of the avatars. And I just think that's wild. Because, like, that's a lot of effort, in my opinion, to steal someone's password.
It's like biometric hacking. It's biohacking.
But I mean, you are stealing the passwords of like the people with the most disposable income in the world.
True.
So,
That is
They
true.
apparently identified the correct letters people typed in passwords 77% of the time within 5 guesses. So it's not, it's not like a cut and dry, we got
That's
it.
a pretty good percentage, though.
But
yeah,
Yeah.
mean, usually you get 10 before you get locked out of most things. So
I just think that's crazy. They just literally looked at the avatar eye movements.
It's like those
Yeah.
crummy CW shows with a hacker where he looks at the eye movements. He's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's about all I got for that. I just thought I'd let you know that I thought it was
Just
neat.
another reason not to buy one of these horrible headsets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want all your data stolen.
I mean, there's really not much more to it. It's just
I mean, the thing is, how do you prevent that?
close your eyes. I don't know.
Well, I mean, honestly-
I bet what would really prevent this is if they had some sort of like third-party input device that had the letters on it that they could then do with their hands. So they
Sure.
didn't track it with like a. They could call it like a keyboard.
or how about if so I'm a fan of the Michigan football team.
Oh, you are?
I am. I don't know if you knew this.
I didn't know this.
We got into some heat, some hot water
I thought that was
in
Miami.
the last years for stealing
I got that.
opponents' signs, right?
Yeah.
So
You're like like Bill Engvall, and you're like, here's your sign.
yeah, that was it. We had a guy on the sidelines that said when the defense would call play, he'd go, "Here's your sign." He would pull it out, and that's why we won all of our games in the national championship. But anyway, in college football, prior to this year, that's how you used to communicate plays out was with signs, literal like poster board
Like
signs.
when Wile E. Coyote says something to the TV screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
but you'd have
ouch.
like 5 or 6 guys out on
Yeah.
the sidelines, and only one of them's hot. Only one of them, they're wearing different colors.
The rest of them are ugly.
They're nasty. But
Wait, no. What do you mean by hot?
the one that the defense is looking at to get their signals.
Gotcha.
So of the 5, the others are decoys, right? So I guess Apple Vision Pro should have maybe 3 different sets of keyboards. One's a QWERTY, one's an ABC, and the other one, I don't know. Maybe
you
it's
go.
a T9. Maybe it's a T9
Yeah,
keyboard.
let's go back to T9.
And that would
T9.
solve the problem.
Like the A.
Oh, y'all are young.
B.
You don't remember
like where you
T9?
type 3 numbers on, or 3 letters on one number.
Yeah, I've done.
Okay.
I've done that before.
All right. Well, don't sound so surprised when
Well, I was not familiar with the T9
the nomenclature. Yeah.
terminology.
Yeah. Those. Well, and,
Oh,
yeah,
and then
those,
the other one should be Braille
and maybe a Braille keyboard.
for your eyes.
It provides haptic feedback on your eyeballs. But yeah,
Oh,
that,
Sounds awful.
That sounds so terrible. Oh my god.
yeah, but see, though, no one would steal your passwords because you wouldn't want to enter them.
True.
You would be afraid to enter any of your
We've
passwords.
solved security.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. We can go home.
Oh dear.
That's all you got to do, though. Just have 3 different keyboards, and then that way they've got to figure out which one.
I mean, that's actually not a terrible idea. Like, it would be very impractical for the average user, but from
Only for passwords, though.
Yeah, that's like 50% of our lives now.
Yeah.
Passwords.
Yeah. Yeah. Get yourself a password manager. Those people who are listening to this.
Or maybe like they show you a picture of your grandpa, and like when you sign up for a website, you got to furnish them a picture of your grandpa, and they ask you, "Is this your grandpa?" And you can easily, you've probably seen your grandpa a lot, so you can say yes
Well,
or
yeah,
no.
but you'd have a 50-50 shot of getting that right.
No, you have to. It's 6 or 7 different pictures of your grandpa.
Yeah, but it's either yes or no.
Yeah, but it's at different stages of his life. So
It's still yes or no are still the only answers to this question.
yeah, but if you answer yes to someone who's not your grandpa, you're locked out forever.
Forever. That seems so impractical.
You can't mess up.
Ever?
You can't mess up.
Well, yeah, but then if someone tries to get into your account and they answer wrong, you're locked out forever.
No, they're locked out. It's geofenced.
But you
I
said
forgot to mention
forever.
that. Their IP forever.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that would.
Their Apple Vision Pro headset.
What if I happened to like buy a house of someone who tried to get into my account at one point?
That's bad.
Yeah,
That's on you.
Or like, what if I misclick?
You can't misclick.
What
You
if
know.
what if I'm doing it and my eye twitches and then I blink and
See,
click?
that's an Apple Vision Pro problem.
I think it's all Apple Vision.
There's a
Pro
lot of
problems.
Apple Vision Pro problems. That's the other moral to this story. It's just don't get an Apple Vision Pro.
I think that was already the moral like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's also the moral when we first talked about this. Like, months ago.
But I'll tell you what, if anyone out there is, wealthy and willing, I'll take one and try it out and give my honest opinion on it after I test it.
For free.
For free. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pay for it.
Well, yeah, but like you won't charge them either. Your time's valuable.
They just have to, they have to give me one to test.
Yeah, I know.
That I get to keep
for free.
For free. It's like
it's a really good deal.
Those sweepstakes. It's like you buy like a Coke and you open the lid and it's like no purchase necessary to enter, but you have to buy the Coke to open the lid to enter.
There's always like a website or some obscure. There is always an obscure way to enter the contest without purchasing something.
Yeah. But then you don't have a Coke to enjoy.
That's true. You get double. It's it's a 2-for-1.
Listen, I just want to make a disclaimer right now that nothing I say ever makes sense, and that's okay. And you just gotta, assume that I'm okay and I know what I'm talking about every once in a while.
Look, buddy, I just suggested that we project pictures of people's grandpas as two-factor authentication. I don't know if you got to apologize for much on this podcast.
Man, what if you just never met your grandpa, but somehow they know what your grandpa looks like?
Well, you would have to. You could provide fake grandpa pictures, maybe to try to fake people out.
It'd be like old Johnny Knoxville.
Because they could go to your social media and find pictures of your grandpa.
Not if I don't know what he looks like.
Well,
he wouldn't be on my social media if I didn't know what he looks
but then
like.
you could trick them with your own picture of a different grandpa.
My grandpa's Anthony Hopkins.
That'd be a cool Anthony Hopkins on the list of cool grandpas.
Yeah.
He's up there.
I would think so. Or Harrison Ford. He'd be a cool grandpa.
Or Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
So, Monday, September 16th, TikTok went to court for the first time trying to take down the American bill that would force TikTok to either sell to a non-Chinese company or else be banned in the United States. And we've talked about this before, I think a couple of times now. The update now today is that we have some of the we have reports from the arguments TikTok is trying to make and the way the judges have responded to it. And long story short, it's not looking great for TikTok at the moment. Basically they're trying to fight this on largely First Amendment grounds, saying that this bill fundamentally violates the First Amendment rights of TikTok America, the American subsidiary of TikTok, and the rights of Americans who are on TikTok. Because there are basically there's a group of content creators, TikTok content creators that are plaintiffs in this lawsuit as well. They're also in there making their own arguments concurrent with TikTok corporate. But basically, so far the judges seem kind of ambivalent to the arguments at play here. Because TikTok's trying to make it seem like this law is singling them out, and is and they're also trying to make the argument that for whatever reason Congress doesn't have the right to pass a law like this.
Yeah,
which doesn't seem to that one certainly is not flying with this group of judges. And I think it's just I don't know. It's interesting because honestly, going into this, I figured that the government, the defendants, would have a harder time defending this bill. Because when you think of free speech in just kind of the layman's understanding of it, it does kind of seem like this a ban would kind of fly in the face of that. But I don't know.
Maybe, but it's
Curious to know your
it would be. I don't
thoughts.
know. It's like telling someone that they can't stand on a soapbox on a corner at a certain part of the city, but they can do it somewhere else.
Right.
It's basically you're not really impeding on their free speech. You just can't do it right here in this corner during these times or whatever.
Right. And obviously the American government and the judiciary and things like that. They've backed up those kind of laws for years, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've since we've started talking about this, I think it's going to get banned. Like, I don't think there's really much. But as we talked, it's not like it's really going to matter as far as the people that are freaking out because their safety blanket app that they like to go to will be gone. Someone else will fill the void, basically copy it, paste it, whether we talk YouTube or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's honestly the biggest uphill battle here is, you know, they're trying to make this argument that TikTok offers this like irreplaceable method for free speech in the United States. But I just don't think that's true. I mean,
not. Yeah.
You know, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, those services are fundamentally very, very similar.
Yeah, Facebook has like a video player that's very similar.
Yeah, but I mean, no one's gonna replace TikTok with Facebook. I mean,
I kind of, from time to time. Yeah, sometimes I'll check on my uncle, see how he's doing. I'm like, oh, there's Michigan highlights. And I'm just like, I'll sit there and watch. Oh, there's Charles Woodson. That's cool.
That's the thing about all the short form video things is they just kind of suck you in.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that.
Do you think a lot of it, in terms of the average TikTok user, or maybe not the average TikTok user, but the TikTok users that care a lot about this, do you think it's more so the fact that they use it as a form of livelihood to be pseudo internet famous, and they're just upset because they feel like they won't be able to attain that on other platforms? Or do you think it's more just like the average user is upset that they won't be able to sit and scroll through TikTok for hours?
I think the average user is more upset about that part. Like I think there's a statistic towards the end of this article that's like, the percentage of Americans that support a ban of TikTok has gone down from 50% to 32%. So that's another aspect to look at here. I think there is certainly an aspect of, a lot of the people who use TikTok on a day-to-day basis certainly view TikTok as irreplaceable, irrespective of the other apps and what they look like. Because, I mean, I think it is important to recognize the fact that while, like, Reels, YouTube Shorts, whatever it is that Facebook has.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know.
I don't either.
But, like, they are still different from TikTok. Like, the algorithm, slightly different. The kind of content on there, slightly different, even though a lot of it is frankly just copy and pasted from TikTok. You're not going to get, if you try and go from like as a user on TikTok to using one of these other services, it's not going to be the same. You're not going to get the exact same feeling out of it, because like if you jump from having never used Reels or Shorts before to suddenly trying to jump into those, you have to be using it for a while to let the algorithm kind of, bend to what you're looking for, and that takes a lot of time.
Well, there's also storefront on TikTok. There's like a whole other.
That's another aspect to it that is, frankly, pretty foreign to me. I don't.
Well, like Caleb that works here, 3D prints on the side, sells some of those items. Like, they have a storefront for things like that, and TikTok will run sales, according to Caleb, like 30% off, and they eat the 30%. So basically, you sell it for full price, and TikTok is eating the 30% to get you some sales, which is really cool for some of these creators that make things.
And I think that is certainly another part of this. Your point. I think it is a smaller group of people, just statistically. A lot of people who depend on TikTok for an income are going to get screwed by this. There's no ways about it, because like if you think of a lot of TikTok creators, frankly, just a lot of internet creators, they got to where they are largely out of luck.
Yeah,
because I mean it is frankly highly, highly luck based. It's, there's loads and loads of talented people on the internet. So, I mean, I don't want to, and I'm not trying to make the argument that they don't like deserve to be there. Like, people that love and enjoy their content, that's great. It's good for them. But the odds of them basically like getting struck by lightning again on a different platform is super, super low.
I feel like though when their following or their base just move with them to whatever.
Some of it
I
would,
feel like you saw a lot of
but-
that when Instagram or Meta or whatever made Threads. All these people were like, "Oh, we're gonna stop using Twitter. Follow us on Threads." And then when people didn't follow them to Threads, they just went back to using Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah, that did certainly happen a lot.
Or X, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
So is the biggest thing with TikTok getting banned like just a security issue?
Yeah.
Like, is that the big?
Well,
That is the government's argument, is
it's
that
the data.
TikTok being owned by China is a national security risk.
So why is this not a concern with like every other Chinese owned thing?
it will be.
Because that's honestly what worries me more than I could care less if TikTok's gone. But like, my 3D printers are all Chinese. My drone is DJI, which I think is Chinese.
Yeah.
And I know there's already been some talks of those getting bricked up at some point.
Yeah, that is another concern
gonna
here because this law, the wording, while it was crafted to go after TikTok largely, does apply to basically every company in China.
I think the main difference though is like the kind of data that they would have access to for your 3D printer, while it's still important, is not the same. It's not, they couldn't do with it the same kind of things they can do with like TikTok data, where they can literally influence like human thoughts and behaviors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the thing with, I think I wouldn't worry about it too much because it's the kind of thing where a lot of those other smaller Chinese companies are probably going to fly under the radar for maybe forever. I think it's the kind of thing that, like, when we actually get to like January 2025 and this hasn't been struck down, like assuming that's the case, because like, granted, like I said, didn't go well for TikTok on day one. It doesn't mean that they won't still win this case. It's highly possible. We don't know. I think there is certainly an aspect that the government will likely have bigger fish to fry come January 2025.
I mean, honestly, the biggest one for me is DJI because, that's like, from what I understand, the most sold drone brand for the average consumer.
See, drones I could see being
more of an issue than
Yeah.
TikTok, if
Well,
not, or just as much, if not
I don't
more.
think it's more just as me personally. I just think that data that the human pattern and behavior of Americans is better, but there's a lot you can do with drone data, like especially the camera footage, if they're able to decipher that. Being able to like within a moment take control of a bunch of drones that are in the sky and do stuff with them if they wanted. I mean, not that that's possible, but
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It is certainly something to be mindful of, I guess. But especially, and there's a chance that they might get a bit more paranoid about things like that, especially considering, like what Israel just did.
Yeah.
With the pagers.
With the pagers, Israel launched a crazy sounding attack on Hezbollah by blowing up like several hundred pagers.
That was like 1,000 or
Yeah.
so.
It's a lot.
Yeah, many. They killed like a dozen people, injured thousands, and it was because they managed to infiltrate the company's supply chain, which mildly terrifying, especially considering that when you look at it in like the most paranoid light of China being like an enemy. At least layman's terms in the eyes of many Americans, they don't have to infiltrate that supply line.
Right.
They own the supply line.
That's kind of the biggest thing for this, which I know we're talking about TikTok, but like for these other things you're talking about, like my biggest wish would be that if these things do get banned, which they may or may not, but if they do, I kind of wish that it would bring back some of the American supply chain, because we were talking a couple of podcasts ago about how we don't really make anything like that anymore. We have like the capability, we have the land, we have the space, we have the workers, we have the talent. It's just, it costs less. So
yeah,
if there was some incentive, or, you know, like you said, an outright ban where it's like you either buy this drone or you don't have drones, that'd be, I guess, the only positive side effect to that would be.
Yeah.
Because if we ever did get into some kind of conflict with China, like, I don't know what we'd do.
yeah, yeah. But you know, yeah, try to don't think about it too much.
Maybe.
Well, it's okay. If we get into a big conflict with China, you guys can just call your buddy
I was
Superman.
going to say, we just need,
He'll take care
we'll
of
be in
it.
DC.
Hell
He'll just,
yeah.
he'll laser eyeball them back to where they came from.
Yeah, Superman, American hero.
Yeah, hopefully he does land in Kansas.
He was raised in Kansas. So.
Yeah,
in our universe that we go to.
This is I would, you know, I didn't specifically say it before, but this would be like the main line of
good.
each universe. So
Good.
yeah.
You know, I think Batman he probably has a plan for China.
Probably.
Yeah, he's like, if they come over here, I'll just, you know.
Just Bruce Wayne will buy all the Chinese companies and he'll airlift them into the United States.
He just goes on TV and he's like, I now own China. Like Vince McMahon in the Monday Night Wars, where he's like, I own WCW.
And Alfred comes in and he's like, sir, you can't own all of China.
Master Bruce, I don't believe that's how it works.
Shut up,
Shut
Alfred.
up, Alfred, I'm having fun. Get out of here, Alfred. Stop calling me Bruce. I'm not Bruce, I'm Batman. Alfred, get out of here. Bruce Wayne is the mask, you know that. Master Bruce, I believe it's time for your bed. Stop it, I'm playing, I'm having fun. As you wish. As he slowly walks away.
Come on, woo!
Thank you for listening to It's News to Me. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see or hear more like it, check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@BurkIT, or go to our website at burkitc.com. Our theme music is Big City Lights by Icolix. Come back in 2 weeks to hear more of me, Noah, and Tyler in the next episode of It's News to Me. In the meantime, keep your data secure and your mind sharp.
Man, being Alfred must suck.
I bet Alfred makes bank.
It's a real thing.
He's probably got some serious PTSD from just walking in on Bruce doing weird stuff, and he's like, Master Wayne.
Well, he was also in war, wasn't he?
He was,
He's
yeah.
a veteran, Alfred is. And
In the movies, wasn't he like, I was in Burma.
It's me, Michael Caine, in the back
Michael
seat.
Caine in Burma. Those kids had those. It was some kind of like jewels they were stealing or whatever. I don't remember
I
the point of
don't
the story.
remember.
it's been a long time since I've watched the Batman movies. I should go back and rewatch those.
They're good.
Are
They're
you?
real good.
I go to this little cafe, and one day I hope to look over and see you there.
And we both know we've made it. It's just a little proving nod. We both know we've made it. God, get away. Why are you following me?
I'm not a kid anymore, Alfred. Leave me alone.
I'm a Batman.